Are you the kind of guy that can become easily obsessed with a girl? Maybe you match on a dating app and you're already thinking of the dates that you could go on together. Or you go on a date and you already want to introduce them to all your friends. Or maybe you break up and all you can think about is them. And I use these three examples because they're real ones. They're from my own life. That over my life, there have been plenty of times where I've just been caught up, obsessed over this one girl, and it's become all consuming and devastating when things finally don't work out. So over the years, I've started to work on and identify what are the issues that lead someone to becoming so obsessed? What is happening internally for this person to be held in such high esteem in your mind that they take over everything, that you can't concentrate, that all you think about is them, you're waiting for their text back. What is going on? Well, over the years, I've gotten better with this, and I'm going to dive into exactly what did I find out and what did I do. And we're starting with number one, attachment styles. So I recently read the book Attached for the second time in my life. And it's actually a really great book. And there was one particular style that really calls out to a man who has this tendency to be able to just get caught up and captured in that obsession of a girl. And it's called the anxious attachment style. So someone with this style of attachment craves intimacy. They feel almost a need to be close to people, but it isn't from a desire to be close to that person. It's usually from a sense of low self-esteem and a desire to connect from a source of abandonment they'd previously felt when they were younger. And that's just not attractive, unfortunately. But this is a lot of people, and one of the issues is they often speak to this being something that is more feminine in nature, but myself and a bunch of guys that I've worked with seem to have this attachment style where they want that intimacy and they do crave it. But the issue is you go about it the wrong way. And this is quite deeply embedded. This is based off of your relationship that you had with your parents when you were younger and how safe you felt. If their parenting was inconsistent with you, you started to think that, okay, well, I'm only lovable and I'm only safe when I have certain expressions of my needs. Some of my needs I can't express, otherwise I'm not loved and I'm not worthy of love. So this forces people into this very weird scenario where they will always put other people in front of themselves. They will have quite low self-esteem and they will always kind of crave and look at signs that probably aren't really there, that their relationship might be falling apart just because someone didn't respond to their text fast enough or didn't use the same amount of kisses or emojis or whatever it is. It's left them hypersensitive to these triggers. And all that does is cause the counter effect in their partner, that your anxious tendencies trigger them to become avoidant, which means that you step forward and they step back. And then this repeats and repeats and repeats until the relationship is dead, because it's set up this paradigm of you just chasing that kind of secureness that you're craving. But the issue is, looking for that secureness in someone else, it's never going to work. All it does is kind of nicotine patch the situation of you can maybe feel good enough briefly because you've got this other person, they're pretty, they like you, but you're not really whole. You're just kind of using them to fill this void that's inside you. So one of the things that you can do is learn and understand your attachment style, because oftentimes you will just get like triggered to stuff. Like for me personally, I've done a bunch of work on this. And even now, there will be times when I kind of just get a little bit triggered of, oh, is this girl actually interested? She's not really giving all the signals to say yes, but maybe she's just having a bad day and all these things. And your head can start whirring. But unless you're aware of the inner mechanisms of your own mind, that whirring or go, 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 go until you've created this grand conspiracy around the idea that your relationship is going to fall apart. So once you can identify it, you can nip it in the bud, and I can sort of say, oh God, this is just me and my funky little attachment style doing its thing again, where it's undervaluing me and putting this girl on a pedestal. And it's like, oh, okay, yeah. And you just go do a run or something else. And this is one of the major movers you can have to get away from being obsessed. In addition to that, one of the things that people that are quite anxiously attached do is they're very bad at communicating their needs, their desires and their wants, because they feel like if I communicate what I want, that isn't acceptable and they won't like me anymore, because that's the system that was set up as a kid where they felt like some of their needs weren't acceptable. So they're determined to be the good boy and always be perfect. And all that does is tank the relationship as well, because we have those needs, and if we don't speak to them and actually ask for them, we then get resentful when our partner doesn't give them. There's a line from Neil Strauss that I'm obsessed with at the minute, that unspoken needs become premeditated resentments. So if you don't speak out what you want, then you're just premeditating resentment to kick in, and that will send the relationship into turmoil and it will break down. So learning to be able to communicate, this is what I want, and putting yourself first, because I have this problem. I'm really bad at putting myself first and asking for what I want. There's a couple of times in my life when I've had to do this, and it causes such like an emotional reaction in me, because I have it, this like embedded thing that you can't put yourself first. That there was a time that I was doing a course with somebody, and it was quite expensive. It was like over $1,000. And I asked for a discount, and I was like, I'm going to put myself first here and just be like, hey, I'd love to do this course with you, but $1,500 is a bit too much. Could we do it for, I think it was like $1,100 instead? He just said yes, and he was pretty chill about it. And I was like, oh my God, I got this rush that I'd actually put my needs first. And it ran counter to the narrative that I'd already had, that this guy was super chill about it and happy to do it, when we have this habit of building up a narrative that if I ask for what I want, people will like me less and they won't want to engage with me in any way, and it detracts from what they would think of me. And people that have that anxious attachment style, rather than having a solid state of how they see themselves internally, they will often leave it up to others to determine who they are and what value they have. So they hate the idea of deteriorating someone else's image of them. But it's necessary, because you can't live on in the minds of others. You have to have your own internal compass and framework for who you are. Otherwise, you end up miserable. And we will circle back to this, because the fourth point is very similar. But the second thing that you can seriously look at, that I've noticed this massively in my own life, that growing up, I don't think I had the social groups that I wanted or was at all happy with. It made me very miserable. I didn't feel like they were a good reflection of who I was as a person. And it's fair to say I don't think I was treated incredibly well in those groups. So I assume that's just what friendship was. It was very much just like the kind of bullying from a bad place. Like, it's not teasing, having fun when you're just joking with your mates. It was just straight up bullying. And I thought that was what friendship was. Up until I found some new groups and found some new friends. And the reason that I'm highlighting this as a point is, when you don't have very good friends, you lean on the romantic relationship so much harder, and it becomes all of your relationships tied up into one ball, and it means that you want so much from them, and you have nowhere else to turn. So I noticed a difference between when I'm hanging around with people that maybe don't bring out the best in me, maybe they just don't connect as well to me, and I don't feel like I have that kind of honest, real relationship with them, versus other friends who I truly adore, who we have the best time and I'm just myself with. Well, when I'm with them, there's plenty of occasions where I've just actively ditched the girl to go with them. I Because I'd rather spend time with them. There are certain friends where it's like, if I was given the option between pretty girl and them, I'd go with them. And everyone can have this kind of friendship. They just get given a bad set to start off with. That what are the chances that the first friendship group you ever have are going to be the ones that you should have for life? Like, they're the perfect ones for you. Super unrealistic that that's the case. So if you're thinking that, oh, my friends are okay, but this is kind of just what friendship is, I'm telling you, there's another level. Like, it steps up, and when you make that step up, you become less reliant and codependent in your relationships, and it just takes away that obsession because you have these other people you can rely on. And that's what it was for me. I have been at my best in relationships when I have the best people around me in friendships. So starting to build out your own friendship circles that really mean something to you is vital. I've got a bunch of videos on the channel for how to do that. I will pop it up there. I'm sure it'll be extremely valuable to someone who maybe is in that position that was like younger me, where their friends aren't bringing out the best in them. I think that's the best way to put it. Your friends should be the people that drive you to show who you really are, that you don't have a filter with, that you express yourself in such a manner that you're just excited to be with them. Okay. Thirdly, and that is missing a purpose. So if you're a guy that doesn't really have a direction, he doesn't know where he's heading, and you don't need to be like, I'm going to solve world poverty or anything like that, but just have an idea of what you want to achieve in your life. Who do you want to be? Is there some goal in your like physical domain? Do you want to run a marathon, or do you just want to get this role at work? Or what is it you want to do? What are you working towards that means something to you? Because if you don't have that, then you start to lack meaning in your life. That if you're not working towards anything, we get all of our positive emotion from the pursuit of a goal. It isn't the attainment. Think about when you're going to go on holiday, you love all the lead up to going on holiday, the excitement that it's coming up, doing things, planning for it. Or when you order food, it's like excitement around the arrival of it, ordering it. But once you get it, you're satisfied. It's done, it's over. You feel kind of bloated and full. That's not when you feel the best. So if you have no goal, then you have no meaning in your life. And then what guys do is, if you don't have meaning in your own life, they look to find it exclusively in their relationship. And they put the entire pressure of, you are my reason for living, on this girl. And that's why she'll get stuck in your mind, because you've decided that this, above all else, is the thing for you. This is what I'm going to stake my claim on. What's worth living is for this girl. So without any purpose in your life, you will always struggle to be able to have that kind of secure attachment with a girl that breeds a healthy relationship. Fourthly, that is authenticity. That I recently watched a podcast with someone called Gabor Mate, and this guy is an absolute specialist in psychology, and especially in the sort of attachment between people and the relationships between family. And he spoke to the idea that when we're first born, we need two things. We need attachment and we need authenticity. So the attachment is what helps us survive. It's necessary when we're younger. We need an adult to look after us, or we'll just die, which is completely necessary. But then he broke into what authenticity meant for us. And this kind of blew my mind, because I'd never viewed authenticity in this way. I thought it was just like, yeah, like you feel pretty good when you're authentic, and like that's ideal, what you want to aim for. But he spoke to how it's almost pre-programmed into us that it's a survival mechanism is to be authentic, that when you're not being authentic, that means you're detached from your gut feelings and your like inner core sensations, that when you're deciding to do things you wouldn't want to do and know it's not what you truly want, you're going against your basic primal instincts. And the thing is, the people that used to do that died. Our instincts from all of the time when we were sort of primates and developing, our instincts are what kept us alive. So it causes this huge, like, psychophysiological load on us that if we go against our instincts, it makes us feel like we're going to die. And to be authentic is what keeps you healthy, and that is to live by what your gut sensations are. He has now done studies and looked at how many illnesses are simply caused by the fact that people are not living a life that they're proud of, that they actually want to live. So when you're feeling inauthentic, you're not being you, then once again, you're putting all of this sense of, oh, I don't really feel like a person, but there's this girl in my mind that she will make me feel whole. She will make me feel like the one. So it's incredibly dangerous to decide to sacrifice who you are to have an attachment to another, when in reality, authenticity is key to us living a healthy life that is healthy in our body, healthy psychologically, because without that, we just become a desperate, anxious mess that to live inauthentically just ramps up your stress. It ages you faster, and all it does is just make you put so much pressure on being obsessed with this girl, with this person that's in your mind. And these are 4 pretty funky ways that actually drive your obsession with a girl. There's a bunch of other random dating things that people would have offered up that sound more interesting and sound more attractive. But if you dive into it, these are the 4. These were the changes that I made that had the biggest difference, because it's not going to help you. You can't ignore this. That if you get this obsession, I know there's some Disney romanticism around maybe being kind of like, oh, I'm so enamored, I'm so in love with this person. But that's very rarely love. That's just codependency that's been painted as love. That isn't the secure attachment of 2 people that are helping each other grow, that truly love each other. No, it is just a work of fiction that is dressing up a mental illness. So finding a way to overcome this is vital, and these are the 4 ways that I've done it personally, and I'm still not perfect. There's plenty of times where I fall down on this, but at least knowing your triggers and knowing what you can do. It's like, oh, I'm getting a bit too obsessed with a girl. I've not been spending much time with my friends. Here we go. And it's like you can start to have like this roster of things to go down of like, okay, what am I doing wrong? Because it's like an indicator. If you're kind of getting obsessed with a girl, it's an indicator that something's kind of going wrong in one of these 4. So I highly recommend you read the book, if I'm honest. Definitely top 10 books, and an incredible read for anyone that does feel that similar way to me, where it is, you just have a slightly more anxious nature. And it's like, there's nothing, you're not broken because of that. It's just part of who you are that you can then just develop and start to change. So all of this summarized, leaving you someone that is more authentic. And I will leave you with this, that one of the biggest dangers of not being authentic is building up this one particular emotion. And this is the emotion that could haunt you forever if you don't get rid of this one, or you don't learn to manage it, is a better way to put it. It will ruin every single relationship you ever have. And my favorite video I think I ever put out on this channel is breaking down just how deadly this emotion is and how it will ruin everything you could ever do. So I highly recommend you check out this video here and start to uncover what the most deadly emotion is, and start to become a man who is truly authentic and isn't getting caught up, obsessed with girls.